November 30th to December 11th could prove to be one of the most important fortnights in the history of our species. It's a big call, but should nations be able to come to a strong, legally binding and universal agreement on climate, the hopes of future generations will greatly improve. Limiting the global temperature increase to 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels is the end goal. But how can that be achieved? Will that be achieved? And what other measures will be looked at in Paris? Hello and welcome to In Focus. This episode isn't about the science, that's already been covered in great detail. The Earth's temperature is heading towards its highest for 3 million years, slow roasting every living organism that calls it home. But it's not all doom and gloom. The Paris climate talks are the most important since Copenhagen in 2009, and the world is in a much better position to reach a binding agreement. With President Obama championing the cause, plenty of other world leaders have followed suit, including, crucially, Chinese President Xi Jinping and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Two crucial US allies and energy and mining giant nations have recently deposed leaders with poor records on climate change. In Canada, Stephen Harper was voted out of office in favour of Justin Trudeau, who says the country is serious about climate change. In Australia, Tony Abbott, who once described climate change science as absolute crap, was rolled by Malcolm Turnbull, a member of the same party, but a man who has been historically very keen to tackle the problem. And there's plenty of positivity before these talks. The two major summits that preceded it, Kyoto and Copenhagen, were seen as a failure. Kyoto because the US Congress failed to ratify the deal, and the world followed, and Copenhagen because of poor preparation, mostly due to the world focusing on surviving the GFC instead. But not this time. The build-up has been huge. Already deals and commitments are in place that is estimated to limit the temperature increase to 2.7 degrees. Of course, that's not enough, but it's a great start. What else should we look for? Well, many small countries will be making their voices heard, including Pacific Island nations that will be most affected and already being affected by rising sea levels. Also, at the recent G20 summit, Indian PM Narendra Modi announced that along with French PM Francois Hollande, he'll be proposing a solar alliance in which a number of solar-rich countries will band together, much like OPEC. Plenty of deals have been done before the talks kick off on Monday. The US have announced they'll aim to cut pollution by 26 to 28% from 2005 levels by 2025, while China plans to peak CO2 emissions by 2030 and hopefully sooner. That may not seem like much on their end, but the country's emissions are exploding. Check out this graph. Most countries have reduced their emissions from 1990 to 2012. The two that are going the wrong way, India and China, who is by far the planet's biggest polluter. But now it's not just the world's biggest nations that are serious about tackling climate change. CEOs and chairmen from some of the world's biggest companies are also throwing their weight around. 78 corporations, including Accenture, Ericsson, IKEA, Lloyds, Microsoft, PepsiCo, Nestle and Unilever, have all co-signed a statement calling on governments to take bold action in Paris. In Australia, companies have joined together in a similar way, notably, that's included energy and mining giants AGL, Santos, and the world's biggest mining company, and one of the biggest polluters, BHP Billiton. As some of the country and world's biggest emitters, it's a positive step and shows that most of the globe is now behind meaningful action in France's capital. And therein lies the biggest difference between Copenhagen and now. This time, the world is ready. Businesses are ready. More than that, they're willing. There's a positive feeling before this summit, and in a year of such negativity, a potentially species-saving commitment in Paris could be just what the world ordered. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.